Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to educate you on the Marchman Act and the three ways, yes, three ways that a Marchman Act can be initiated. Now, if you've seen any of my Baker Act videos, and I think there's a couple of hundred of them out there right now, you've heard me talk about the three ways that a Baker Act can be initiated, right? Law enforcement, qualified professional, somebody runs to the courthouse. Well, here's the rub. The Marchman Act can actually be initiated the very same way. And I actually pulled up the sections of the statute, so you can go look this up for yourself because it's pretty much not known that you can initiate a Marchman Act the same as a Baker Act. What does that mean? It means, of course, somebody can run down to the courthouse. And when we're talking about running down to the courthouse, it's typically a case that's filed by a lawyer, but not always. It doesn't have to be. It could also be initiated by law enforcement. What does that look like? Well, it's called protective custody. Yeah, guess what? And it says right here, and I'll give you the section so you can look it up for yourself. 397.677, a law enforcement officer may implement protective custody measure. So it means that law enforcement could, in theory, someone's intoxicated, someone's high. They could, in fact, initiate a Marchman Act detention. What's the other section of the statute that also talks about this? And here it is. Emergency admissions. 397.679. Here we go. A person who meets criteria for involuntary admission may be admitted to a hospital or a licensed detoxification facility or addictions receiving facility for emergency assessment and stabilization upon receipt by the facility of a certificate by a physician, an advanced practice registered nurse, a psychiatric nurse, a clinical psychologist, yada, yada, yada. What are they talking about? They're talking about somebody being Marchman Acted by a qualified professional. Where have we seen that in the Baker Act? Well, when somebody goes to the emergency room, right, for an alleged, mental health issue, and the doctor in the ER or the psychiatrist for the hospital initiates the detention. So here's the deal. A Marchman Act and a Baker Act can be initiated the same three ways. A judge, a law enforcement officer, or a qualified professional. Now, the list of qualified professionals under both these statutes is a little bit different, but you get the point. And I'm sharing this with you because as a general rule, we don't see this, especially here in Palm Beach County or even Broward County. But I have seen it initiated in a couple of counties. For instance, if you end up in the ER up in Gainesville at UF, there's a very good chance if you meet Marchman Act criteria that you could get detained under the Marchman Act. Because remember, Marchman Act deals with substance use and the Baker Act deals with mental illness. Now, have I seen people that were Baker Acted because they were intoxicated? Sure, see it pretty regularly. Does it mean it's legal? No, but it happens. It happens. And so I just want you to understand that the Marchman Act and Baker Act, in some ways, they're very similar. Now, do I think that we should be using the Marchman Act more when we have people that are, especially people who are coming in high? Yeah, I think so. And one of the issues that we had, especially here in Palm Beach County, was the revolving door to the emergency room. Somebody would come into the hospital as a result of an overdose. They'd receive medical care. They'd be released, or they'd say, listen, I'm leaving. They'd walk right out and get high and overdose in the parking lot of the hospital. So it was just completely nuts. And I said to the task force that was working on this stuff down here, I said, why don't you Marchman Act them? And they said, well, that's too slow. And I said, well, what do you mean? They said, well, we got to go to court. I said, no, there is a provision in the Marchman Act statute, just like the Baker Act, that once this person's in there, the qualified professional, the ER doc, can actually detain this person for up to 72 hours, unless, of course, they go file a petition for extension. Under both Marchman Act, a bit like Baker Act, right? You can extend this thing. So I've always found this fascinating, not used much here in Florida. I wish it was a whole lot more. But that's it. The three ways that Marchman Act and Baker Act have things in common. Anyway, if you have any comments or questions about this video, I read them all. Please post them. If you liked the video, yeah, I'd love a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in our next video. Take care. Bye-bye.